It's almost the end of the year. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about my 2019 favorite romance novels that I've read this year. I do have the physical copies of most of these books that I'm about to talk about, but I'm too lazy to actually grab them because if I were to do a book tour situation, you would know that I actually have piles of books piled on the floor and I actually don't have any shelf room anymore, so the floor is my shelf. You can already kind of see down here that the piles are growing higher and higher, and soon one day you might actually see them grow up high to the point where you can see them actually in the shot. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that because that's like really scary situation where I'm actually going to sign myself up for Hoarders Buried Alive very soon because that's a lot of books to be piling up on my floor. But regardless, let's get started. So the first book I like to talk about is actually a part of a series and is actually a part of a trilogy so far right now. I actually don't know if they're gonna make a quartet series, but so far it looks like there might be a fourth one, and it's from one of my favorite authors that I discovered this year, or an author that it was new to me, called Tessa Dare. Now, she writes a lot of historical romances, and I know a lot of people actually love Tessa Dare, and I'm actually one of those people. She just seems to write a very interesting and like sexy and like gorgeous historical romance that really captures your attention. So the first book that I would like to mention is definitely The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, which is, I believe, the first book in the Girl Meets Duke series. Now, this book follows the story of a dressmaker. She is like poor. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. She knows that she loves sewing because that's her trademark, like that's her skill. And she meets this beast, and this man, I think he's like heavily scarred, if I remember correctly, and he's just a horrible person to deal with because he's not only ugly on the outside, but he seems like he's ugly on the inside. So his fiance runs away from him, saying that she can't live her life tied to him like in a marriage. He, who is desperate to have an heir, decides to marry the dressmaker who is responsible for making his fiance's dress, and then together they have this arrangement where they would lie together, they would sleep together in hopes that she'll get pregnant. She in return wants respect, wants to have dinners with him, and has like this whole list of criterias where he has to meet in order for her to continue their relationship. And I just thought it was super romantic and it was super cute. I really loved it, and I feel like if you guys are new to historical romances, I definitely suggest you to check out Tessa Dare because her novels are great and fantastic. The second novel that I want to talk about is actually the second book in the series, called The Governess Game, and it's basically about a person or a man who becomes a guardian of these two toddlers and these two twins. Well, they're not really toddlers because they can walk and talk and they can prank and joke, so they're like little children, and basically he wants nothing to do with them. He just wants to live his bachelor life, but because he is the next person that is responsible for these people and he becomes the power of attorney, he has to take care of these children and now he has to raise them. Without being too attached, she decides to hire a governess who is responsible for taking care of these children who are becoming monsters because they are not being loved, they're not giving the attention that they deserve. So she tries to insert him into the relationship so that he can learn to love these two girls, and in return actually they fall in love, which is super cute, and I really enjoyed it as well, and I really suggest you to read it if you haven't read it already. The next book that was one of my favorites this year, it has to be Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev. Now, this is a South Asian romance that was published by William Morrow Books, I believe, which is under HarperCollins. And now this book didn't blow up on Instagram as much as I thought it would. It was like a really good, like, we saw it a lot on Instagram, but it wasn't like one of those Berkeley romances that everybody sees on Instagram. And it was such a shame because I really love this book. Now, this book follows a Pride and Prejudice retelling, but it's with a twist. It features a lot of food. It's set in a modern world. Our Elizabeth Bennet in this book is a world-renowned surgeon. You know, she's really good with her hands. She always saves lives. Like, her objective in life is just to save lives. But then she is also like the Darcy in the story. So she's very mechanical. She doesn't believe in feelings. So she just wants to do her job, be the best at her job, be the youngest resident. And she herself has a lot of regrets in her life because her past, she made a couple of mistakes. and she feels that her family has shunned her and she's actually not a part of the family anymore. And then we have the guy who is our Elizabeth Bennet in that sense, but he's the guy form of Elizabeth Bennet, and he is a chef. You know, he comes from a background where he's not that rich, he's not that privileged, but he is smart and he's well educated in the sense that he went to France for culinary school, and he's just trying to gain respect when he comes to America. He has to take care of his younger sister who has this terminal disease and slash cancer that turns out our main character, the female character, has to take care of. And while I was reading the story, you could really see like the love-hate in it, and you could also see like the pride and the prejudice that they have against each other. And their problems were a lot more complicated than what you would imagine. Like they couldn't just, you know, forgive each other and call it a day. They would actually have to work out a lot of their problems and a lot of their internal issues as well. I had a lot of friends that started reading this book and they didn't really like it at first, but then they turned out that like around halfway through things picked up a bit, and then they were really intrigued and very invested, and after that they gave like 4 out of 5 stars to this book. I myself, I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars because it was just so good. I liked it from the very beginning. I didn't mind the slow start and I really appreciated it. So I really hope that you guys will pick this book up soon as well. The fourth favorite book of this year would have to be Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. Now this is actually my first Tessa Bailey book, and I think I mentioned this in a video like way back when, like it was probably my second ever video posted here on YouTube, and it was about my praise for Fix Her Up because I really enjoyed it. I mean, like a lot of people actually have some problems with it. I never really delved into it and I never really read their reviews, so I don't know like why they hate this book, but personally I really enjoyed it. It was just like a fun, lighthearted romantic comedy about a very strong female character who knows what she wants to do, who wants to grow her business in the clown business, where she wants to dress up as a clown, dress up as different characters, and bring joy to a lot of children's lives and their parties. And she is actually the younger sister of a brother who is best friends with a very famous baseball player, and it's about their relationship. So it's the best friend's little sister relationship trope kind of idea. And they start off like, you know, like a brotherly sister unrequited love relationship where she's madly in love with him, but then she realizes that she's wasting her time being in love with this man who doesn't even know what he wants in life. So she decides to take a break, and then it's about him realizing that the girl that would basically be the most important person in his life is sitting right in front of her, and it's about him winning her over while she also grows her career and becomes a stronger female character. And I really enjoyed this book because it had all those aspects, as well as it having a lot of really good steamy scenes. It was also written very well, and also dealt with a lot of characters with a lot of issues that cannot just be solved by love, and I really appreciated it. I actually read the second book in the series already, but since the second book is coming out in 2020, I obviously can't include it in my favorites, but I would say that the second book is one of my favorites as well. So the next book that I want to talk about is actually Our Stop by Laura Jane Williams. Now, Laura Jane Williams is a new to me author. She's written a lot of books previously, but I haven't read it, and Our Stop was my first novel from her. Now, Our Stop is a story that is for the patient reader. It's for a reader who appreciates very slow burn romance, because nothing really happens in this book until like the very end, like the last few chapters. So if you are not in the mood for a slow burn romance, definitely do not pick this one up, because this book is about timing and the perfect timing. Everybody kind of has the idea that this is like the at the right time, at the right moment kind of thing idea. So if it doesn't happen now, it'll happen at a later time in life that is the right moment, if that makes any sense. So for example, meet cutes. So we're playing with the idea that you will meet your person that you're destined to be with at the time that you're supposed to meet them in your life. And anything can basically change that moment and kind of alter that in a sense. So Our Stop plays with the idea of that, where these two people are fated to be with each other, but there are so many circumstances in their life that kind of stop them from meeting each other at like the first moment, and that they have to go through like a series of events in order for them to actually properly meet. So Our Stop follows this girl who takes the train a lot. You know, she takes the train daily to work, and she commutes into work, and it's about him as well, and he's commuting to work as well. And then they kind of lock eyes, they kind of look at each other, and then they see that, you know, like they're pretty attractive, and they have like this idea that they're capable of being with each other or something like that. So they set up these ads in the newspaper that they both read, where it's talking about misconnections, and it's talking about like, I missed you today, I didn't see you today, you know, so to the girl who's wearing the brown jacket, I really like your smile, and like cute notes like this. And it's about them communicating back and forth on this like newspaper column ad about misconnections, and it was adorable. I really enjoyed it. Obviously it was deeper than that. Like, this romance definitely had more stuff to it. It wasn't just fluff, and I really appreciated it. Although it was a slow romance, I read it very quickly and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys can pick this one up as well. So the last book that I want to talk about is Misadventures with a Professor by Sierra Simone. Now, this book is a darker romance because Sierra Simone writes a lot of dark, smutty romances. I believe like her tone is very dark, and I really appreciated this one as well because I read it at the right time, at the right place. This book is about a graduate student. I believe she is going to school in the fall, but then in the summertime she wants to kind of have some time where she gets to spend with a professor, and she wants to intern. So then her father's best friend, or her father's close colleague, who is also a professor, decides to hire her for an internship, and they fall in love, and they like do a lot of like, you know, hot sexy time things. But anyways, that is it for all my 2019 favorites, and I hope some of my favorites were your favorites too, or if not, I hope you guys can find some book recommendations for yourself and that you can carry it forward in 2020 and you can read it as soon as possible, because these books are amazing and I really enjoyed them. But until next time, I'll see you guys again. Bye. Can't let you go. I can't let you go, no. 우리 운명적 아무거나